In the early 1960s, well, in the latter part of the 1960s, Martin Luther King traveled to Chicago to help residents have a better way of life. So he went over to the Bridgeport area because of the segregation in the city. And I remember my mother working and walking with Dr. King when he came here to Chicago. And so we just thought it was just important to mention that we think Chicago is a better place to live now, but there has been a lot of racial tension in the city. But the main thing I want to say, if people would only treat others the way they want themselves to be treated, Chicago would be a much better place to live.
Well, personally, I think low rise is better than high rise. You know, you get a chance to have your own grass.
Yeah.
You have your own tree. You can literally come outside, because that's what we lived in. We lived in the you know, more so like
The
a
row
little
houses.
row house type thing here. And you know, you had an upstairs, downstairs, a clear sense of what each room was. You had a kitchen, you had a front room, you had the stairs that went up to the bathroom and the bedrooms. I mean, it's no comparison.
No.
No comparison, row house versus high rise.
And just with the little I know about the tall buildings, I remember, no, I won't tell that story, but I do remember, you know, going into the tall buildings, and it was one way in and one way out. So
That's true.
you didn't get a chance to just walk out your door and you were on the ground. You had to go down an elevator. And I remember one of my friends, she lived in Robert Taylor before they tore that down. And she had received her public aid check. And I don't really know how it was, but in the elevator, some kind of way, the thief was up in the top of the elevator.
thing.
And when they were on the elevator, he came down through there and robbed them. So there were a whole lot of instances where people were victimized by living in the tall buildings. So,
Or going up those stairwells, and then some people would, you know, just.
and the elevators wouldn't work, and you'd have to walk up the stairs.
Which
and
you
just
could be
imagine-
victimized there.
Victimized on the stairs in the elevator, and just imagine you going grocery shopping, and then the elevator's broken, and you have to try to get your grocery from the ground floor all the way up to the 16th floor. Because I remember some people would throw ropes down and, you know, haul their groceries up. So it's just been one thing after another. But I wanted to tell you a little bit about what Wentworth looked like when we were younger. That was before the Dan Ryan was built. Can you imagine what it must have looked like without the Dan Ryan being there? Because there were homes on LaSalle, there were homes on Wells and Princeton. And so once the Dan Ryan was put in place, that did a little damage to our community, because then the stores were gone. No more A&P, no more hardware, no more drugstore. And so Wentworth then became a desert, a 2-block square desert, because it goes from 37th to 39th, Wentworth, Princeton, Wells,
To Wentworth.
back to Wentworth. So our community became a living desert, but we managed to survive because the residents decided to take matters into their own hands. They developed a basement store. They developed a laundromat. They had a preschool for the children. And some of the children were so well educated when they got to public school, they were able to promote them and they jumped the class because the parents taught the children.
I actually wanted to talk about those businesses because I know you talked about it in the last interview, and I thought that was really important. The 2 businesses that the community created and the community ran, and then CHA took over and it kind of destroyed the business.
Right.
And I would really appreciate if one of you would re-talk about that because I think our class is on.
Well,
Okay,
I know for a
but
fact that
it's the resident management, but
they had the business. They started their basement store first. In fact, the proceeds from the basement store, they was able to get the laundromat. But what I liked about it, just the opposite. Laundromat first and then the basement store. But listen to this. This is what's so good about it. In that particular job setting, the residents were able to have work. They were literally paying them a living wage, well, you know, part-time work. But you were able to come out, go to the basement store, go to the laundromat, and
Because we
literally
didn't have nothing else.
and,
We were cut off from everything else, so
and
we had
make
to
a
have
nice little
something.
piece of change for yourself. But what I didn't like is what they've done now, because what they've done now, they have the laundromat, but they don't get any money from it. And they wouldn't let them have another store. And so that means that the little employment, mind you, that same employment, with that money, they would also do scholarships for the kids, have different little programs, teas and things out on the field, all kind of things. Flappe, I always remember Flappe.
The tea.
You know, because they would have like sherbet and ginger ale pop. Oh, so
That was a
good
big
together.
treat for us to have that, you
And
know.
so, you know, those kind of things, but they were community organizations doing community things for the residents. And Ms. Harris, how did they, because Mama's gone now, she can't tell us, but you can. How did they tell y'all that you couldn't have people are working now, but are they volunteers or are they getting paid?
They volunteer.
That's what I thought.
They are tenant patrol.
Mm-hmm.
They get a stipend, $100 a month off of their rent, not money. They takes it off of their rent. The captain gets $125 a month off of her rent. And they got them doing all of CHA work that they got, but they don't get paid.
Like what, Ms. Harris?
Anything they have up there,
Passing out flyers,
and
neighborhood watch, going in and out the
Clean.
hallway, checking to make sure the hallway clean. I mean, you have to literally go in the hallway, go up to the third floor, all the hallways. If they see anything broke, you gotta write that down. Day-to-day labor, work. They have to do that. But before Ms. Harris get into the good part, this is what I want to tell y'all that was so ironic. During this time, when they had the laundromat in the basement store, minimum wage had to be about $3.75 then, in my days. And they were paying them $1.50. So that's pretty good, just getting up out your bed, going to your local, your little basement store, or going there. At the end of 2 weeks, you'd have made like $36. And the person that out here working a real job, steady, they're making $36, they're making 72, So, when you really look at the math, and you was able to wash your clothes free, so that paid off some of the money, and they gave you like a little book account, so if you ain't had the money to buy your bread and pop this month, you could put it on your account and then subtract it from your little paycheck.
And we're not talking about a play laundromat. This is a real laundromat.
Yes.
They had at least, how many machines? 10, 12?
it was about 15.
15.
I know it was quite a few. It was a real
It was about
laundromat.
15
Can you believe
washers
that?
And 2,
and
4,
15
6
dryers.
dryers up and
And I
bottom.
think we had 2 big boy dryers.
Mhm.
And see, this was so, I don't know if you can imagine what they're telling you. This was run by the residents.
Yes.
They didn't ask anybody to come in and train them. They didn't have any formal training. They just decided we need this for the community.
We
and
needed
this-
it.
And
Right.
remember, with that resident management, another thing that they
That
had,
was another business we had.
there you go, where they were able to hire those janitors. Talk on that, Ms. Harris.
They was paid good money.
Okay?
They got regular janitorial salary.
You did. Y'all hired them.
We had.
It was,
The
y'all
resident
started
management.
working on it in 89 or something like that, becoming.
97, we got our contract in our hand and started work.
To be what?
We-
Tell them what you was gonna be.
Resident
That's what I
management,
want you to
managing
say.
this property here. We managed the whole property. We had us this van, which is still sitting out there, and I'm trying to get the van fixed. But we had our own van, our own superintendent, fireman, Mr. Magic, he's still here now. We had
Janitors.
20, we had about 8 janitors. We had the manager,
Carpenters.
assistant manager, we had clerks, we had about 3 or 4 clerks. Altogether, we had about 30
Staff.
staff members that we had. We had our financial peoples to come in, keep up with our books and things. Me and Ms. Amey had to look at nothing, but make sure everybody was paid, got their vacation, everything. And we did that from 97 to 2005.
And then they also had, which I thought was just so great, they were putting together an apprenticeship program.
Yes.
For kids to get this education where they can get vocational training. And so we had
So like internship.
Apprenticeship thing going. And 2 of them managed to make it.
Engineers. Yeah.
And can you believe that? All of this is through this
And they
resident management
graduated.
corporation.
Yes.
You know,
And
so-
the catch-22, see, I'm the advocates of the young man that saw it all growing. They was closing all these resident managements down. And when they started the plan for Wentworth, they said everything we had, they was giving it back. They was gonna rehab our community, and everything that we had already established, they were giving it back. So they were supposed to build us a laundromat, cause we had this. They should have gave us back a store, but they said they couldn't get a store back. But they said we'll get the laundromat. Then they came back and said, well, what happened, Miss Harris, y'all? We're going to give y'all a laundromat, and you're going to partner. And, you know, the community still gets something, as well as the company that you're working in, because they're going to make it beautiful. We didn't get that. I think we got like $200 checks, but let me finish this.
One time.
Then, once they seen that after we had done all the work and establishing everything, they said, well, we think y'all did a good job as manager. Now, they closed down all the RMC stuff for Wentworth, and they could not find a problem with Wentworth. So they did a catch-22. What we going to do is, because the work orders got like a B, and we need to bring it up to A, we're going to bring another company in
To work.
that's going to work with y'all to help you bring your grading status up to par. Now, we working with doing the field, engineering, all these. We got good grades, A's, A's, A's. It was rent that we was getting this like C in. Everything else was A's and B's. But they found one little small little thing was collecting rent. And they're going to send somebody here to teach us how to collect rent, because maybe you just a little too personal that you're not getting the
You're
rent.
too close to the people.
But they only going to be over y'all for 1 year. 1 year. You know, I keep telling y'all about they always keep calling this 1 year, right? Y'all make sure y'all keep bringing up 1 year. And then, you know, management corporation to go back up. But in the meanwhile, we're going to make y'all an organization.
Sure did. Made us
And I'm sitting here listening. I'm like, whoa, what you got to change my name for? If you only coming in to get somebody to come and help me for 1 year, why I got to come from being my management fully established back to an organization? Because you're not bringing me back. But they was telling me, shh, 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 because I was young. But I was a little more fresh in the game. They bring them in, the year left.
Cutthroat.
Yeah.
Then they say, well, they no longer got a 1 year agreement. They hear them day to day. Next thing you know, we become organizers, and they done brought in a whole full management company. Forcing our janitors and everything, to all that didn't get rehired with the new company, they were terminated. And the reason for all this saying was, they just no longer had the budget. But we was already financial and self-sufficient, because we was no organization. We was a corporation who established their own 501c3, who wrote up their bylaws, hired people, numerous of people to come in and set up the whole design plan to become management, and they took it.
What happened to all, you know, at one point too, they had all of you guys going to different training things out of town. They were sending you
That
guys
was for the RMC.
RMC,
yeah,
That's
right.
what that was for.
And they was
That's
doing this not
started.
just for Wenthworth Garden residents, they was doing it for all of these so-called CHA developments.
Right.
And they was sending them to all of these training camps. What happened to that if all of these places ended up being demolished?
But they trained us from 19...
Remember that, Frankie?